Buckle up and get ready for a roller coaster ride of some tasteless humor, lots of heart, and radical truth with two scrappy chicks. Because adulting is hard, but we are thinking that laughing about it is just so much easier.
Hi, everyone. Hope you're all doing well. Thank you for joining me again for episode 2 in my Solo and Sovereign series. Today, I'm exploring a really powerful cultural shift that's happening right now, which is the rise of women choosing themselves. This really is a new era. Women are choosing their peace and their sovereignty. And whether you're single for now or indefinitely, your path is valid. Your path is powerful. Your path is deeply worthy of celebration. More and more women are reclaiming their autonomy and centering their own well-being and embracing the freedom that comes with standing firmly in their own strength, in their own peace. And I'm one of them, I'm glad to say, proud to say. And choosing to remain single has probably been one of the most empowering decisions I've ever made. Even before the let them theory, I had already begun the journey of choosing myself. That book just simply deepened the process for me because it teaches you to not only accept others as who they are, where they are, but it also allows you to grant yourself that same permission. And that shift is truly liberating. Because when you truly center yourself, you can finally begin to see your own inner strength with clarity, the wisdom that you really had all along. The decision to partner or not partner is often one of the most significant choices a woman can make. Because for women, the stakes are so much higher. There are risks, including and not limited to physical safety, financial safety, and these must be addressed and acknowledged. Choosing the right partner isn't just a personal preference, not anymore, it's essential. For women, especially who've left abusive marriages or relationships, remaining single can be a truly sacred part of healing, a time that they take for themselves to rebuild their identity and unlearn the conditioning that teaches women to tolerate harm. Too many women have been taught to accept the unacceptable. There is a lot of truth in the old saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. When you begin to defend your boundaries and protect your peace, you choose yourself. You don't just survive, you thrive. You start cultivating healthier relationships in all areas of your life. I know I have recently shared with you that I came across the work of Chantal Hyde, and her voice, her books, her teachings are transformative. Her books are grounded in research and science, and yet are deeply human and deeply personal. And it's so glaringly obvious that women are conditioned from a very young age to prioritize others' wants, needs over themselves. And we have seen time and again how that self-neglect comes at a very high cost for women. Chantel helps you to identify these patterns, which empowers women to break the cycles and make positive choices, healthy choices that support their own well-being, health, and growth. When we know better, we do better. And I do want to be clear, because this is, part of the cultural shaming and victim blaming surrounding divorce. Divorce is not a failure. It's often a healthy and necessary act of self-preservation. And it doesn't matter who initiates the divorce, whether it's the man or the woman. Because leaving a toxic or dysfunctional relationship is always better than staying in one that harms you. Roughly 70% of divorces today are initiated by women. Now that really says something, doesn't it? Women are finally reclaiming their time, their finances, and their emotional energy. And many realize pretty quickly They're far happier single than they ever were partnered. And according to research summarized by Harvard Health Publishing, marriage tends to benefit men more than women, especially in terms of health and longevity. Meanwhile, reporting from Women's Health shows that single women in 2025 are absolutely thriving because they're seeking relationships that are equitable, emotionally respectful, and mutual. They just refuse to settle. Many women credit therapy, personal growth, and the freedom of singlehood for this flourishing. Their well-being thrives not despite being single, but because of it. Some call it building their own fortresses of solitude, spaces of peace, privacy, and power, and beauty. And I couldn't agree more. So when you finally decide to center yourself and say no to anything or anyone that doesn't align with your peace, you begin to reclaim your life. And yes, you might face some pushback. Toxic people will react when they see your growth and your freedom. But once you take that first step towards your own sovereignty, reclaiming your own life, every step after that becomes so much easier. And you start attracting people because you're making room for people who support you. And those who don't support you will either fall away on your own or you will have the strength to walk away. And I also, because of this, wanted to continue our conversation about coercive control, what it is and why it's so dangerous and why stronger legal protections are urgently needed. As always, you'll find all resources and sources linked in our show notes. So the Tepe case, front and center in the headlines. Recent reporting on the Tepe murders revealed there were clear signs of coercive control in Monique's past marriage. Her ex-husband allegedly threatened her, stalked her, and this is about 9 years after their divorce. And reports indicate that he was outside her home on December 6th. Surveillance footage later captured him entering and leaving the home hours later. So this raises some really troubling questions. And I don't have answers to them. If anybody has any answers, please let me know. Were reports filed for that incident on December 6th? And if so, what actions were taken when he was either outside her home for hours or inside her home for hours, weeks before their murders? And unfortunately, and this is why I ask, because I don't know what happened in this case, but failures in the legal system to protect victims are not isolated. Instead they reflect a nationwide pattern. In the US, coercive control laws are slowly, and I do mean slowly, catching up. But, slowly isn't good enough. A handful of states do recognize coercive control as domestic abuse, but survivors can't wait for this incremental change. We can't. The laws need to move, and they need to move fast. And it's our collective voices that help to push this progress forward. Like, I'll give you another instance. The story of Micah Miller is another haunting example. Her death was ruled a suicide, but those who loved her say she had endured coercive control, isolation, surveillance, tracking, and threats. Her case has drawn national attention and has led to a bill proposed in South Carolina making coercive control a felony offense. It is now the fourth attempt to do so. Yes, you heard me correctly, fourth. So then my question, another difficult question that I don't have an answer to, if anybody has it, please let me know. Why is it taking a fourth attempt to get this bill passed? Why wasn't it passed the first time, the second time, the third time? Critics claim such laws could hurt victims, but the truth, in my humble opinion, failing to pass these laws leaves victims without protection. And resistance to these laws are often, in my opinion, again, humble opinion, reflects a deeper systemic bias where most victims are women and most offenders are men. Experts agree, however, that coercive control is often more dangerous and more pervasive than physical violence because it's about domination, isolation, surveillance, threats, and control, and it's rooted in a mindset of ownership. If I can't have you, then no one can. In Micah's case, her husband was later indicted for cyberstalking and making false statements to authorities. Reports show that he harassed her for 528 days. That's over a year and a half, or close to a year and a half. So what's happening during all this time too? How many reports were filed? How many times did she have to call for help? Why is it a year and a half later and this is continuing? Reports are stating that he damaged her property, interfered with her finances, threatened her, and shared intimate images of her online, and then lied about it. These cases make one thing painfully clear. Coercive control is not relationship trouble. It's a form of domination that can and often does end in lethal violence. And stronger legal protections are not optional, they're essential. So as we wrap up, coercive control, because we're going to get into this and to understanding it better. Coercive control is a form of abuse that doesn't always leave bruises, but it leaves deep emotional scars. It's a pattern of behaviors meant to dominate, manipulate, and isolate a partner. That can include threats, humiliation or intimidation, isolation from friends or family, financial control, monitoring of movements or communications, punishment or fear to maintain power. And many survivors can struggle to describe it because it does tend to build gradually over time and often out of the sight of any witnesses. This is why they isolate you, because they don't want anybody putting in their 2 cents about what they're observing. And they don't want that person that's being coercively controlled to have any outside influence. And here's the thing, whether it's you or someone close to you, got to start documenting, because documentation can help survivors clearly explain their experiences. Keep an incident log, noting dates, times, and details. Save text, emails, screenshots, or voicemails. If possible, have a trusted person. Keep a copy somewhere safe for you, because you might not be able to keep this information on your phone, on your computer, or in your home, especially if you're trying to leave this type of situation. And if you're looking to find an agency to help you leave this type of situation, a couple questions need to be asked. Does this agency have clear policies to recognize coercive control? And how does law enforcement collaborate with them? Does your state have a coercive control law? Survivors deserve safety, dignity, and access to information that protects their liberty. Now, I'm in Illinois. So here in Illinois, coercive control is defined by a law that is a pattern of threatening, humiliating, or intimidating actions used to harm or frighten someone, which includes isolation, financial control, and surveillance. Under the Illinois Criminal Code of 2012, it is a crime, a Class A misdemeanor, and multiple violations can rise to a Class 4 felony. It's also included in the Illinois Domestic Violence Act of 1986, ensuring survivors have legal protections that these behaviors are taken seriously. But are they? That's my other question. Are they, though? I do want to thank you for being a part of this extremely vital conversation. To every listener walking this path, your sovereignty, your safety, and your peace are worth protecting. You're worth protecting. So until next time, take care of yourself and keep choosing you.
We love our scrappy peeps. So thank you all for joining us and becoming part of our flock. So please like, subscribe, and share. And if you don't like us, unfortunately, yo mama. But if you do like us, we look forward to seeing you next time on Two Scrappy Chicks.